What's going on, everybody? Welcome back to the channel. Now, I do in fact apologize for not being active here and suddenly disappearing out of nowhere and having videos being uploaded literally a week late. So please do forgive me for that little delay that you just saw. Sometimes, Mother Nature loves to come out and intervene, and I ended up falling ill as a result, as per the annual tradition, apparently. Last year, it was flu A. This year, it was flu B. Same fucking shit, same triple-digit temperatures, just a different letter, but thankfully, I am back, I am doing much better, I do feel better, and I, most importantly, got the energy back to record again. So now that it's finally business as usual here on the channel, let's get right back into the news, starting with, of course, the biggest story of the week, the release of the Epstein files, because yesterday was supposed to be the release of the Epstein files. I did record a video about it yesterday, talking and discussing what I expect to be seen there if it ever happens. Also, talking about why it may not happen. So right when I finished recording that video, the news broke that the files actually were released, but, there were a bunch of mishaps surrounding it. For starters, only certain people were able to get their hands on it, and they had this huge photo op with all these people holding binders that says Phase 1 Epstein files written on them. The content within these binders are stuff that we've already known. For instance, the flight logs, which really don't tell us anything. And the new information that we have yet to see, most, if not almost all of which are heavily redacted to absolute oblivion, to the point where a lot of this information that were in these binders that a lot of these people received were just completely useless to begin with. So obviously, people from both sides of the political spectrum were literally asking themselves, what the fuck happened? Already for a while now, people have been wondering, where are the Epstein files? When are they going to come out? And if they do come out, will they be redacted in any way as it, pertains to potentially blocking out the list, blocking out certain details and certain names that just so happens to be on this list that could be involved with Jeffrey Epstein and were on his island, possibly partaking in what is believed to be child sex trafficking. We were supposed to get these answers yesterday. However, we ended up not getting those answers, but rather, more questions involved. What happened and why did this happen? A lot of people are calling this a fail. People are blaming Pam Bondi. Donald Trump is getting blamed. The DOJ is getting blamed. People are speculating, almost like this whole release of the Epstein files did not go as planned. Now, our Attorney General, Pam Bondi, had the Epstein files on her desk, and she reviewed the list and was able to put forth Phase 1 of the Epstein files. So, yes, the Epstein files have been released, while at the same time, not really. And a lot of people were either both confused, skeptical, and a little bit pissed off at the same time. What we really got out of it is half of the stuff that we already knew, and the other half new things that have yet to be uncovered, but are so heavily redacted that they're absolutely and completely goddamn useless, and quite literally mean absolutely nothing. There's literally memes going around of people holding black bars saying that they have the Epstein files in their hands. That's how redacted they are. And, there could be a number of reasons why this happened, why the list has not come out, why it's been delayed, why it was delayed, and why yesterday went the way it did. Now, I'm sure the Trump administration's reasons would be possibly to make sure that the release of this list would not impede and or infiltrate ongoing investigations, because if this list did go public, that's something that could potentially happen. There's obviously a bunch of legal hurdles that you have to hop over before you can be able to proceed with what you're doing. And, there's also another reason why this could be the case, which I will talk about. This is something I believe Styx Hexenhammer actually suggested when talking about the release of the Epstein list. But, the other day, this was something that was considered a day one promise by Donald Trump, by Kash Patel, by Pam Bondi even. and even by Matt Gaetz when he was first tapped to be the initial AG in Trump Admin 2.0. A lot of them pretty much said that they would be able to release the Epstein files on day one, trying to reveal who was involved with Jeffrey Epstein. Like, we already knew the flight logs and everything. It's just the one thing that we don't know was the client list. Who was on Epstein's island and who was doing what to who. I'm pretty sure most of you guys, if not all of you guys, already know this story already. Even mainstream legacy news outlets talk about it on a routine basis. But, at the same time, it's been 6 years since this story first broke, although it's been talked about by conspiracy theorists for quite some time. Crazy how this shit became true. But, here's a little TLDR of what I'm talking about. So the story goes is that Jeffrey Epstein is this financer, investor, billionaire, and a lot of these rich people would go and hang out with him on his private island, I think somewhere in the Bahamas, if I remember correctly, and some of these people were actually good friends with him. However, it turns out that he was a sex offender and a convicted pedo. And on top of that, there were some shenanigans going on that island involving less than sign down arrow ages, which I will not discuss because not only this video is also on YouTube, but also because I was just sick recently, as I stated earlier, so I wouldn't want to be in the mood to talk about it anyway. So let's just say that there was some trafficking going on. 10 years ago, you would be called a conspiracy theorist. Fast forward to sometime in 2019, it was then later confirmed that this was in fact the case, and now pretty much it's been national news ever since. So pretty much most, if not virtually all people, want to know what the fuck was going on and who was involved. Regardless of where they are politically, people still wanted to see what the hell was going on. Everybody wanted answers about this. And President Trump, of course, and people within his administration said that on day one, when they got in there, that the full list would be revealed, none of it would be redacted, everything would be released all at once. And a lot of people were already anticipating this release. Now, granted, that was not going to happen. It was not going to be a day one release. That's not how legal cases work. It's a very, very slow process. So if Pam Bondi and even Kash Patel are releasing the files within the first few months and are just releasing these files like what we saw yesterday in the way they did, I kind of sort of do see the understanding in this. You have Pam Bondi, I believe, yesterday saying that the DOJ are withholding certain files, and you also have our FBI director, Kash Patel, saying the same thing. We didn't get the full picture because they weren't allowed to. Maybe this could be for legal reasons. At some point, they were going to have to release something anyway. Something that is at least meaningful. With JFK, with Martin Luther King, with 9/11, with Epstein, something needed to be released one way or another. They could also, and I hope this is the case now that we have a semi-sane DOJ now, they should also open up an investigation and look into Jeffrey Epstein's death. Because I have questions about it, and a lot of people have the same questions too, including liberals. I know it's a meme to say Epstein didn't kill himself, but to be fair, I don't think he offed himself. The story makes no sense. The timeline makes no sense. The conditions of the situation itself makes absolutely no sense, and the events that took place utterly made no sense. That right there is something that I believe most Americans would like to know more about, just as much as that list alone. The Epstein list itself might be more important, but Epstein's death, I think, should be looked into as well. What supposedly happened is that Epstein had cameras in his cell and guards watching him. All of a sudden, out of nowhere, the cameras shut off, the power went out, and the guards were sleeping. The logs on the computers weren't even backed up, and then his cellmates and people that were in other cells started hearing screaming. That just shows you that this was not a suicide, and that this was an actual murder. And even the autopsy reports showed that as well. So that's something that I also want to see be looked into as well. Yesterday didn't really answer anything. It just gave us more questions. The questions really are, why did this happen? Or what else can be released? Will we know the full story? Will there be things that are redacted? Will there be even a piece of information in these pages that don't get released at all? What can we do to prevent something like this from ever happening again? These are just all things people are now wondering, especially with what we just saw and what transpired in this release of the Epstein files. And, why this happened. Pam Bondi just came out and said she didn't know that this was going to be the case or that somebody was withholding evidence. And you have Kash Patel, who is also saying the same thing, like they're both being cock-blocked in some way, which I wouldn't be surprised if that ended up being the case. However, at the same time, I do believe, I'm sure, again, the Trump administration will just say, well, there's still ongoing investigations that are happening, and we don't want to impede those just by releasing this information out to the public. There's a lot of behind the scenes. There's a lot of legalese that is found within this information. You could be potentially violating a bunch of NDAs if you do so in the process. But also, there are some individuals that were involved with Jeffrey Epstein that have vast power and influence within the government, which is that the people that are on this list are mostly very, very rich and famous. People that are billionaires, celebrities, actors, filmmakers, banksters, corporate heads, CEOs of Fortune 500 companies, basketball stars, sports team owners, and shit like that, and even some politicians as well. So if you were to release the full unredacted list all at once, it would cause social and economic mayhem. That could be why you saw what you just saw with the Epstein file released yesterday, as of recording. And it also could be why you're not going to get the full unredacted list anytime soon. It'll be the same with JFK and 9/11. If people knew just exactly how bad things were behind closed doors amongst the ruling class and the elites, they would be virtually outraged. It would cause mass public uproar. Forget Luigi Mangione. You would end up having 1 million Luigi Mangionis everywhere as a result of this. There would be a revolt. There would be a civil war. And the economy would collapse. Civilization in the Western world would collapse. Hell, you might even see the rise of communism or potentially fascism out of this. And so it's probably not a good idea to release the entire list all at once. So I could understand that. It's sort of like a similar situation of what unfolded after the whole Ashley Madison scandal. Like after when all these leaks started coming out, it pretty much completely fucked a lot of marriages as a result. Only because of the fact that somebody could potentially be going out there and cheating on their partner. It caused a lot of paranoia and divorces were going out of control. So I kind of sort of understand that. You gotta be careful with what information you release. Yes, we do want the Epstein list, but, at the same time, it's always better to be safe than sorry. So, just putting that out there. Now, finally, before I end this video off, I do want to touch up on one final reason that I saw as to why this list wasn't released and why this so-called Epstein file release went the way it did. I've been seeing a lot of people, particularly on the left, especially the people on Blue Sky, were all saying that, well, the reason why the list hasn't been released is because Donald Trump is on it. And he doesn't want that to come out because it could ruin his reputation. So that's just another thing that I wanted to talk about, Trump's involvement with Jeffrey Epstein. So people on the left are saying that not just Trump, but also Elon Musk are supposedly on this list. And they're using this as the reason why we really didn't get anything in this Epstein file release. And to be fair, I don't think that this is the case. Here's why. If Donald Trump and or Elon Musk were in any way involved with Jeffrey Epstein to the point where it would incriminate either of them, Democrats would for sure 1,000,000,000% release it. And they would have already released them by now. And people would go out and say, well, no, they wouldn't do that because liberals and Democrats are also on this list too. Well, that's not necessarily the case though. At the end of the day, it really doesn't matter. You gotta understand, especially considering, the election just happened. So you're talking about arguably the biggest October surprise bombshell imaginable. Donald Trump on the Epstein list, and Elon Musk is also on there with him. Like, the idea that Democrats who were in power for 4 years were sitting on this only because they were saying, well, no, because it also incriminates Bill Clinton, so we're not going to release it. No. That's not realistic. If Trump was involved on that island, again, they would have already released it by now. Because, Orange Man bad, they think Donald Trump is Hitler and that he's the worst person to ever exist and that he's a Nazi. So you would release it if Trump was involved. So, that just leads me to believe that Trump was not involved and didn't really do anything. And even if he did, you also want to keep this in mind. Not everybody who was on the island was doing anything practically sus. Like, some of these people just went in to have some cocktails or just only visited for the food and the drinks and everything and the dancing. So it's not like everybody is at fault. Again, we really don't know the full details of what was going on really. That's exactly why we have these investigations. Also, another reason why you can't release everything all at once. So yeah, as you can tell, the Epstein release, the Epstein files, this was all a complete mess. We really didn't get anything new, and even if we did, virtually all of it is entirely redacted. Only certain influencers were able to get the binders in their hands, and again, it really didn't tell us anything. So again, if you guys are concerned that you've missed out on all of this, to be fair, you didn't. This was really just nothing. We didn't get the list. We really didn't get anything. So again, we just have to wait and see. I know a lot of us were anticipating what was to come out of this, and a lot of you guys were disappointed. I'm just as disappointed too. Just like what I keep saying, I want the Epstein list. And again, pretty much all Americans already agree with me on this, that we want to see this list. And to the people who did all this weird shit, it doesn't matter who they are or where they align politically. Anybody who did any wrongdoings should be charged and punished to the full extent of the law. Unfortunately, we really didn't get anything, so again, we just have to wait and see where this leads us to. A big reason why you should subscribe to the channel, so that way you don't miss out on that video once it is uploaded. I'm your news guy. I'm here to keep you up to date, and this obviously is a major newsworthy story that not only that I have to talk about, but also because I pretty much want to talk about because, this obviously is a major news story. I'm very fascinated about it. Again, we'll just have to wait and see, but I'll make sure to keep each and every single one of you guys up to date about it. As your news guy, this is just what I do. So either way, with that being said, thank you guys so much for watching. If you guys enjoyed, make sure to hit that like button down below. And if you're new around here, make sure to subscribe to the channel and ring the little notification bell. Don't forget to follow me on all my social medias. Links are in the description below, as always. Share this video around with your friends, families, boyfriends, girlfriends, enemies, whomever. Definitely helps me out a lot, helps the video grow, and helps grow the channel if you were to share this video with whomever you know. Anyways, guys, before this video already gets too long, like, subscribe, ring notifications, and until then, I'll see you guys in the next one. Take care, talk soon, you're awesome.